Boom, YouTube mode. All right, chat. So listen, I wanted to talk about something that was pretty interesting to me, and it all spurred from a YouTube comment I got on my channel. And you know, only good things come from YouTube comments, so it should be an interesting discussion. This comment really got me thinking and kind of sparked an interesting debate. And I want you to read the tone of the message as well, because I think that's what makes it particularly interesting. This is on my match analysis video. Unholy Kill 3 here commented, "You got to go in training mode. Make Laura do this move, then you block it and punish it. That's all fine and dandy for Laura. But what if I want to train against E Honda? I don't have E Honda unlocked, nor do I wish to pay money to unlock him. How do I train against E Honda like that without having him unlocked? It's really sad that a competitive fighting game has such an obvious pay-to-win feature. Pathetic, really." This comment really got me thinking. It really got me thinking because the most interesting part of this is that the entire grammatical structure, the lexicon, the diction used here is 100% straight out of scrub quotes. It is structured almost identical to every scrub quote tweet you can find on that Twitter account. I mean, he even has such direct copy paste like pay to win and how do I train, you know, classic scrub quotes. But at the end of the day, even though I don't really agree with his delivery, he kind of has a point, right? He kind of has a point here. If you do not pay for DLC when you're defending against the character and you didn't pay for the character, you don't know how to defend against them because you can't lab them in training mode. It really got me thinking. A lot of people had a lot of different opinions about it, but really, he has a point. What gets lost here is saying pay to win, because even if someone pays to play a DLC character, they're not paying to win. They're paying to have the character or the tool so that they can learn the tool and then win with it. But you still have to know how to play the game. So it doesn't replace skill. It's not like someone can spend more money than you and just keep out purchasing you and get better at the game than you because of that, because they're inflating stat points. So it's not, I wouldn't go as far to say pay to win, but there is some sort of anti-consumer behavior from the DLC that the devs are pushing embedded in it. And I kind of agree with them at the end of the day. You have to pay to be able to play as DLC characters, but you also have to pay to be able to lab them in training mode. That's a pretty interesting concept. And you know, some fighting games don't do this model. Apparently Killer Instinct, I haven't tried it myself, but I heard Killer Instinct allows you to use the DLC characters in training mode. But it also really brings up that strategy that Tekken employed, which is in Tekken you have to pay to have the frame data display in training mode. You have to pay to just be able to lab. That one I think is ridiculous. I think that's ridiculous that Tekken does that. But there is an element of truth in this very unfortunately worded comment here. But even beyond that, there's more evidence to support this comment that DLC is pay to win in 2020 than there ever has been in the entirety of FGC. And let me present you the evidence of what I'm talking about here. Evo Japan for Tekken 7. You guys remember that tournament? You guys remember? Leroy was the hot new DLC at the time. Of the top 8 placings, every single person besides second place Mikio used Leroy. Every single person used Leroy because when Leroy was first released as a paid for DLC, the character was so strong and so much more superior to the rest of the cast that high level players were forced to pick up the character in order to compete at the highest level. It's really hard to argue otherwise in this case, that literally every single person had to use Leroy besides second place. And that was the beginning of 2020, one of the last major offline events for Tekken. Let's keep going. You guys ever heard about this thing called DBFZ? Here I have the national championship results for DBFZ. If you don't know how the DBFZ format worked in 2020, they basically broke down multiple regions for people to compete in for DBFZ. They had a Japan region, they had a US East, a US West, France, Spain, I believe that's it. So there was 5 regions total. They did online round robin, and then that led into the top 4 players going into bracket to compete to be the champion of that region, because they couldn't do the typical world tour due to COVID. Here are the results for the Japan region: Kazunoko, Goichi, Fenrich, Bonbon, and you might notice a theme here. You might notice some repeat characters in these teams. So that's all fine and dandy. Let's go to the top 4 in US East. Not as often, but there might be a familiar face in here. Let's check out what's going down in US West. If you look closely, there might be a common theme here. France. Yep, I'm seeing a familiar name again. What about Spain? Yep, there he is again. I'm of course talking about Ultra Instinct Goku, who in this list of round robin results shows up 143 times. And I did the math on this. So there's 5 regions, 4 players per region. There's 20 possible team compositions. I'm not going to count duplicate teams. In Japan, 3 out of the 4 teams had UI on. USA East, they're kind of lacking on the meta. Only one, Nitro Bros. The guy who won had UI. USA West, 2 teams had UI. France, 3 teams, and Spain, I believe, had 3. In total, 12 out of the 20 teams had UI on them. And if you count later season, like this season of DLC character Master Roshi, if you count the teams that had Master Roshi on it that did not have UI on it, there's 1 team. So that's 60% of the teams with UI on them, and then 65% of the teams that had UI or Roshi on them. Oh, Kefla, I forgot about Kefla. She is the latest season of DLC for this year. Kefla is here as well. That brings it up to like, what, 70% of the teams? At least 70% of the teams featured one of the characters that were present in this season of DLC. So these high level players once again are using the DLC characters from this season, and they're winning. They're not winning because of the DLC characters, but I think they're winning with the requirement that they have to use these DLC characters. You don't really see this. It's not a usual trend, I would say, in competitive fighting games for DLC characters to dominate the meta this heavily. It's more of a trend this year than I've seen in a while. There have been other instances of it in the past for sure, but there seems to be a trend of developers dropping extremely strong DLC characters and then maybe later on, after everyone's bought them, nerfing them. I don't know if this is an intentional strategy, but I can definitely understand that, because if you are in the business of selling characters as DLC, would you rather drop a character that is balanced, middle of the lane, doesn't stand out too much, character that's trash, and once people figure them out, nobody wants to play anymore? Or would you want to drop a character that is very strong, has a lot of unique tools, stands out from the rest of the pack, a character that a lot of people are using, a lot of good players are advertising on streams with lots of people watching? Would you want that instead? Would that be better for your bottom line? Seems to be a common trend of dropping characters that are too strong and nerfing them later to guarantee that everybody picks them up and at least has to either lab against them or play as them. You got to do one of the two. Now, I haven't talked about Street Fighter V yet, but I do have evidence for Street Fighter V. All right. And that is with Street Fighter League 2020. So they have a whole website for Street Fighter League. I don't know if you knew about that, but you can go here on streetfighterleague.com and check out the week battles. Let's go to season 3, week 1 and look at what went down. All right. Nacer versus UIU, Seth versus Kage, Seth versus Poison, Seth versus G, Seth versus Seth, Seth versus Seth, Seth versus Karen. Well, that's a lot of Seth for 1 week. Week 2, and Bison versus Seth, 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 Seth. Week 3, Seth, 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 Seth. Week 4, are there going to be any without Seth? Seth, 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 Seth. I'm just going to go to week 10. I don't remember week 10. Seth, 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 Seth. Seth is everywhere on Street Fighter League. Seth is all over Street Fighter League, and Seth is the last character to be dropped as DLC and is undoubtedly one of the best characters in Street Fighter V as of right now. Undoubtedly. I also play Seth for good reason. Seth is mad fun. Seth is top tier and fun. Why would you not play Seth? So many tools, so much power, fun to play. Seth is a fun character. If you're sitting here hating on Seth, just play Seth for yourself. Play a little bit of Seth. Have some fun with your life. Life's too short, man. Have some fun. But Street Fighter V, kind of also following the 2020 meta of Tekken, DBFC, and all the main fighting games right now, dropping top tier characters as DLC that will presumably be nerfed later on. And the competitive meta is definitely shifting to pick them up. I have not seen a character drop that kind of centralized the meta as much as Seth has in Street Fighter V ever. At no point did a DLC drop and kind of shift things as much, besides Abigail. Abigail shook things up, but not everyone switched to Abigail. Abigail was only for a few select people who really wanted to play that character and who gravitated towards it, and definitely was a big part of the meta. But Seth, just everybody plays Seth. Everybody plays Seth. If you play Street Fighter V and you do not get the DLC to practice against Seth in training mode, but your opponent bought Seth and uses them against you, is it pay to win? Is that unfair? You don't have the ability without paying money to go into training mode to be able to practice against it, lab, and develop counter strategies. Is that pay to win? Is he being a scrub, or is that facts? That's why I'm titling this new segment, Is It a Scrub Quote? Because you guys will decide. All right, is this a scrub quote? 1 for yes, Unholy Kill 3 saying having to pay for DLC to train against them in training mode is scrubby, or 2 for no, this is straight facts. I'll let you guys decide. 1 for yes, 2 for no, straight facts. It's both. You gotta pick one. You gotta pick one. All right. When we get to 150 votes, can we get there? So far, no is leading the poll right now. No, straight facts. 63% of you thinks this guy is spitting some hot fire right now by saying having to pay for DLC to play against him in training mode is a pay to win feature. 5 more votes, 4 more votes. I mean, at this point, it's decided. It's essentially decided. 64% of you have deemed this not a scrub quote. Not a scrub quote. Yeah, some real points. It was really right in the line for me. I gotta respect the pro-consumer messaging here. Why can't we lab against DLC characters in training mode? I mean, I understand why from a business point of view. They want us to pay no matter what to be able to get access to the content. It's structured just like a scrub quote, but at the end of the day, he might have a point here. You have to pay money to be able to learn, withholding knowledge from the player behind money. Very fine line he's writing, but he has a point. And the chat has decided it is not a scrub quote. I was actually kind of surprised. I thought you guys would for sure flame him. He dropped the pay to win. Usually pay to win is a dirty word in the FGC. Usually you can't call anything pay to win, and usually you really can't. But the business models have kind of changed that. He still deserves to be flamed. Maybe. Be nice, guys. Be nice. All right. That's the end of the segment. Whoa, professional streamer time. That's the end of the segment. Hey, you guys on YouTube. Hi there. Yes, hi. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel. You know, 50% of the people who watch my channel actually aren't subscribed. And as of filming this right now, we're getting really close to 30K subs. So it would mean a lot to me if you guys could hit that button and help me reach that goal. And that's about it. Appreciate you watching. See you in the next one. Peace.